Most people think belly fat is just a cosmetic issue, something you hide under loose clothes, something you promise to deal with later. But there is a deeper truth that almost nobody talks about. The most dangerous fat in your body is not the one you can see or pinch. It is the fat you cannot feel at all. It sits deep inside your abdomen. It wraps itself tightly around your organs, your liver, your pancreas, your intestines. This fat is called visceral fat, and it is silently damaging your health every single day. Here is the shocking part. You can look thin on the outside and still carry a dangerous amount of visceral fat on the inside. Doctors even have a name for this. They call it hidden obesity. It explains why some people exercise, eat less, and still struggle with stubborn belly fat and low energy. The real problem was never willpower. It was never just calories. It was biology working against them. In this video, you are going to learn what visceral fat really is, why it is so harmful, and why it behaves very differently from normal body fat. You will learn why common advice like endless crunches, extreme dieting, and long hours of cardio often fail to remove it. And most importantly, you will learn how visceral fat responds faster than any other type of fat when you follow the right steps. There is a little known fact that surprises even health professionals. Visceral fat is more active than other fat. It releases hormones and inflammatory chemicals directly into your bloodstream. These chemicals interfere with insulin. They increase stress hormones. They push your body toward diabetes, heart disease, fatty liver, and even memory problems. This is why doctors worry less about how you look and more about what is happening inside your abdomen. Another lesser-known detail is this. Visceral fat grows fastest during stress, poor sleep, and unstable blood sugar levels, not just from eating too much. This explains why people gain belly fat during hard periods of life, even when their diet does not change much. Your body stores this fat as a survival response. It thinks it is protecting you. In reality, it is slowly hurting you. The good news is that visceral fat has one weakness. It is highly sensitive to hormonal changes. When insulin improves, when cortisol drops, when your body feels safe again, visceral fat begins to shrink, and it can happen faster than most people expect. Sometimes in just weeks. In this video, you will learn how to trigger that process naturally. You will learn what to change first and what changes actually matter. You will learn how small daily habits can shift your hormones in your favor. No extreme plans, no starvation, no gimmicks, just steps that work with your biology instead of fighting it. You will also learn why the next 30 days are critical. Research shows that the body responds quickly to improve sleep, better blood sugar control, and gentle movement. This is the window where visceral fat loss accelerates. Miss this window and progress slows. Use it correctly and the belly begins to shrink from the inside out. Many people focus on surface fat and miss the real danger. By the end of this video, you will understand why reducing visceral fat is not just about appearance. It is about protecting your organs, your metabolism, your future health. This knowledge can change the way you approach fat loss forever. Stay with this video until the end, because the final part ties everything together into a simple 30-day plan. A plan that does not overwhelm you. A plan that real people can actually follow. Most viewers who leave early miss the most important connection between stress, sleep, and belly fat. That connection is where real change begins. If you are serious about improving your health, not just your weight, this video is for you. If you are tired of trying the same methods and seeing the same results, this information can give you a new direction. Every minute you stay here adds another piece to the puzzle. Welcome to our channel, where we break down complex health topics into simple, practical truths. If you value science-based guidance, clear explanations, and strategies that actually work in real life, you are in the right place. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you do not miss future videos that help you take control of your body and your health. Now let us begin. Visceral fat is very different from the fat most people think about. It is not the soft layer you feel when you press your stomach. It is not the fat that moves or folds. Visceral fat sits much deeper in the body. It lives underneath the abdominal muscles, out of reach from your hands. This is why many people do not realize it is there until health problems start to appear. This fat forms a tight layer around vital organs. It surrounds the liver, the intestines, and the pancreas. These organs control digestion, blood sugar, and energy balance. When visceral fat builds up, it presses against them and interferes with how they work. The liver becomes less responsive to insulin. The pancreas struggles to regulate blood sugar. The gut becomes inflamed and inefficient. Unlike surface fat, visceral fat is highly active. It is not just stored energy. It behaves like an organ itself. It releases fatty acids directly into the portal vein, which leads straight to the liver. This constant flow overwhelms the liver and forces it to produce more glucose and unhealthy fats. Over time, this raises blood sugar and triglyceride levels even if body weight does not change much. Visceral fat also releases inflammatory chemicals into the bloodstream. These chemicals disrupt normal hormone signaling. They increase insulin resistance and promote chronic inflammation throughout the body. This is one reason people with high visceral fat often feel tired, foggy, or bloated without understanding why. Their body is fighting low-level inflammation all day long. Another important detail is how tightly packed visceral fat is. Because it is compressed deep inside the abdomen, even small increases can cause major metabolic damage. A few centimeters of visceral fat can be more harmful than several kilograms of fat under the skin. This makes it especially dangerous and difficult to detect early. Visceral fat tends to grow in response to hormonal signals rather than overeating alone. High stress hormones, poor sleep, and frequent blood sugar spikes send a message to store fat around the organs. This is why people can develop a firm, round belly even when their overall body size remains the same. Visceral fat is harmful because it does not stay quiet inside the body. It constantly releases substances that disrupt normal function. These substances include inflammatory chemicals and stress-related signals that circulate through the bloodstream all day. Unlike surface fat, which mostly stores energy, visceral fat actively interferes with how organs communicate with each other. One of the biggest problems is inflammation. Visceral fat produces compounds that keep the immune system slightly activated at all times. This low-grade inflammation does not cause immediate pain, but it slowly damages tissues. Blood vessels become less flexible. Organs become less efficient. The body remains in a state of internal stress without rest. Another serious effect is insulin resistance. Visceral fat releases fatty acids directly into the liver, forcing it to produce more glucose even when the body does not need it. Over time, cells stop responding properly to insulin. Blood sugar stays elevated longer after meals. This makes the pancreas work harder and increases the risk of type 2 diabetes, even in people who are not visibly overweight. Visceral fat also disrupts hormone balance. It increases cortisol activity and alters hormones that control hunger and fullness. This leads to stronger cravings, especially for sugar and refined carbohydrates. As cravings increase, blood sugar spikes become more frequent, feeding the same fat that caused the problem in the first place. The presence of visceral fat places physical pressure on organs. This pressure affects digestion and breathing. The gut becomes more inflamed and less efficient at absorbing nutrients. The diaphragm moves less freely, reducing oxygen intake and increasing fatigue. These small changes add up and affect daily energy and focus. Over time, these effects push the body toward disease. Heart health declines as cholesterol patterns worsen. The liver accumulates fat and becomes stressed. The brain is exposed to inflammatory signals that impair memory and mood. All of this can happen quietly long before any serious symptoms appear. Regular diets often fail because they target the wrong problem. Many people believe that doing more abdominal exercises will flatten the stomach. Crunches strengthen muscles, but they do not remove visceral fat. This fat sits beneath the muscle layer, far from the surface. No amount of spot training can reach it. Stronger muscles can even push the belly outward when deep fat remains unchanged. Another common mistake is extreme calorie restriction. When the body senses a sudden drop in food intake, it shifts into survival mode. Metabolism slows down to conserve energy. The body becomes more efficient at storing fat rather than burning it. This response is especially strong around the abdomen, where visceral fat is stored to protect vital organs. Low-calorie diets also increase stress hormones. Cortisol rises when the body feels threatened by hunger, lack of nutrients, or excessive exercise. High cortisol sends a clear signal to store fat in the belly region. This happens even if total calorie intake is low. The body prioritizes visceral fat storage because it believes danger is present. Many diets ignore blood sugar stability. Skipping meals or eating unbalanced foods leads to sharp rises and drops in glucose levels. These swings increase insulin release and promote fat storage around the organs. Over time, this pattern worsens insulin resistance and makes fat loss harder, not easier. Dieting fatigue is another factor. Constant restriction increases mental stress and poor sleep. Sleep loss further raises cortisol and disrupts hunger hormones. The body becomes locked in a cycle where stress, poor recovery, and fat storage reinforce each other. Instead of shrinking, the belly often becomes firmer and more resistant even as weight drops elsewhere in the body. Visceral fat follows different rules than surface fat. It is not designed to stay forever. It exists as a quick response to internal signals, especially hormones related to stress, blood sugar, and safety. Because of this, visceral fat can change rapidly when those signals improve. This is why early fat loss often shows up first in the waist, even before overall body weight changes. One important reason visceral fat responds fast is its high metabolic activity. It is constantly releasing and absorbing energy. When insulin levels stabilize and cortisol begins to drop, visceral fat no longer receives the signal to stay stored. The body starts pulling energy from this fat first because it is easier to access than fat under the skin. Hormonal balance is the central factor. When insulin remains high throughout the day, fat stays locked in place. When cortisol stays elevated, the body holds on to belly fat as protection. Improvements in sleep, stress control, and meal composition can shift these hormones within days. This shift creates a window where visceral fat loss accelerates. Many people miss this window because they focus only on calories or exercise volume. They assume fat loss is slow by default. In reality, the body is capable of rapid internal change when the environment feels safe and stable. This includes consistent meal timing, adequate protein, and reduced sugar spikes. The first 30 days matter because the body adapts quickly to new signals. During this period, inflammation begins to decrease, insulin sensitivity improves, and energy regulation becomes more efficient. Visceral fat responds by shrinking to reduce internal pressure on the organs. This process does not require extreme measures. It requires correcting the signals that told the body to store fat in the first place. Blood sugar control plays a central role in visceral fat storage. When blood sugar rises sharply, the body releases insulin to move glucose into cells. High insulin levels signal the body to store energy, not release it. As long as insulin remains elevated, visceral fat stays locked in place even if calorie intake is reduced. Frequent sugar spikes keep insulin high throughout the day. These spikes often come from refined carbohydrates, sweet drinks, and meals low in protein or fiber. Each spike pushes the body back into storage mode. Over time, cells become less responsive to insulin, forcing the body to release even more of it. This creates a cycle where fat storage becomes the default state. Protein at every meal helps break this cycle. Protein slows digestion and reduces the speed at which glucose enters the bloodstream. It also stimulates hormones that support fullness and stable energy. When meals include enough protein, blood sugar rises more gradually and insulin stays lower for longer periods. Reducing refined carbohydrates further improves this process. Refined grains and sugars are absorbed quickly and cause rapid glucose surges. Replacing them with whole foods leads to steadier blood sugar levels and fewer insulin spikes. This shift allows the body to access stored energy more easily. Another factor is meal timing. Long gaps followed by large carbohydrate-heavy meals can worsen sugar swings. Consistent meals with balanced macronutrients keep blood sugar within a narrower range. As insulin exposure decreases, visceral fat no longer receives the signal to stay stored. The body begins to release this fat to meet energy needs, especially during periods of light activity and rest. Cortisol is a powerful hormone that strongly influences where fat is stored. When stress levels rise, cortisol increases to help the body respond to perceived danger. This response is useful in short bursts, but constant stress keeps cortisol elevated for long periods. High cortisol directs energy storage toward the abdomen, especially around the organs, because this area is rich in cortisol receptors. Emotional stress, work pressure, constant stimulation, and lack of recovery all contribute to this response. The body does not distinguish between physical danger and psychological stress. It reacts the same way. Visceral fat becomes a protective storage site even when food intake is controlled and exercise is regular. Poor sleep amplifies this effect. Sleep loss raises cortisol the next day and disrupts hormones that regulate appetite and blood sugar. Fewer than 7 hours of sleep reduces insulin sensitivity and increases cravings for fast energy sources. This combination accelerates visceral fat accumulation and makes fat loss harder. Consistent sleep duration is as important as sleep quality. Going to bed and waking up at the same time stabilizes the body's internal clock. This stability lowers baseline cortisol levels and improves hormone balance. Even small improvements in sleep consistency can reduce abdominal fat signals. Slow, controlled breathing has a direct calming effect on the nervous system. Deep breathing activates the parasympathetic response, which tells the body it is safe. This reduces cortisol release and improves digestion and recovery. Practicing slow breathing daily, especially during stressful moments, shifts the body away from fat storage mode and toward energy release. Exercise plays a very different role in reducing visceral fat than most people assume. Many believe that long hours of cardio are the only way to burn belly fat, but this is not true. Extended cardio sessions can burn calories, yes, but they also increase stress hormones if overdone. Elevated cortisol from excessive cardio can actually encourage visceral fat storage. The key is moving in ways that signal safety and support metabolism rather than pushing the body into prolonged stress. Short, frequent walks after meals are surprisingly effective. Walking after eating helps regulate blood sugar levels and insulin. When glucose enters the bloodstream, light movement encourages the body to use it for energy rather than store it as fat. Even a 10 to 20-minute walk after each meal can significantly influence how the body handles nutrients and prevent visceral fat from increasing over time. This type of movement is gentle, sustainable, and easy to maintain daily, unlike extreme cardio routines that often lead to burnout or injury. Strength training is another crucial component. Many people avoid weights, believing it is only for building large muscles, but light strength training has a strong effect on visceral fat. Muscle tissue requires energy even at rest. By increasing lean muscle mass, the body's basal metabolic rate rises, meaning more calories are burned throughout the day. This effect includes visceral fat, which responds quickly to improved metabolism. Exercises such as bodyweight movements, resistance bands, or light weights performed consistently 3 to 4 times a week can trigger noticeable changes. Consistency is more important than intensity. It is tempting to push the body to exhaustion with long, hard workouts, thinking it will accelerate fat loss. In reality, this approach often backfires. Intense exercise spikes cortisol, and if recovery is insufficient, it encourages the body to store fat in the belly. Gentle, regular movement, on the other hand, keeps the body in fat-burning mode without triggering stress responses. Consistency signals the body that it is safe and that energy can be released from storage. In addition to formal exercise, daily activity levels matter. Standing, stretching, and walking around the house or office add up. Sedentary behavior, even in people who exercise occasionally, contributes to visceral fat. Small movements throughout the day improve circulation, reduce inflammation, and support better insulin sensitivity. These subtle actions, repeated daily, accumulate into meaningful fat loss over time. Posture and breathing during movement also influence fat metabolism. Exercises that engage the core without overloading it improve circulation around the organs and strengthen deep muscles. Proper breathing techniques lower stress hormone levels and enhance oxygen delivery to tissues, which helps the body efficiently use stored fat for energy. Deep diaphragmatic breathing while performing light strength or mobility exercises encourages the parasympathetic nervous system to activate, signaling the body to release energy rather than hoard it. Interval-style activity can also help, but in moderation. Short bursts of movement, such as climbing stairs quickly for 1 minute followed by a slower pace, increase heart rate without creating prolonged stress. This type of movement challenges the cardiovascular system gently, improving circulation, stimulating metabolism, and supporting visceral fat reduction. The combination of light intervals with steady movement maximizes results while avoiding cortisol spikes that long, intense cardio sessions can trigger. Hydration and temperature during movement play subtle but important roles. Drinking enough water before and after activity helps regulate hormones and supports digestion. Mild sweating through activity, such as brisk walking or light bodyweight exercises, helps the body release toxins and maintain internal balance. Avoid extreme temperatures during exercise, as overheating or intense cold can stress the body and elevate cortisol, slowing fat loss. Nutrition timing around movement further enhances the effect on visceral fat. Eating balanced meals with protein and fiber before light activity ensures blood sugar rises slowly and insulin remains moderate. Moving after meals helps the body use glucose efficiently, reducing the need for storage in visceral fat. The combination of timing, gentle movement, and proper meal composition reinforces fat loss signals consistently. Finally, mental approach during movement matters. Viewing exercise as a stressful obligation triggers defensive hormone responses that slow fat loss. Approaching movement as a supportive, energizing habit encourages the body to release stored energy. Enjoyable, repeatable routines like walking while listening to music, gentle resistance exercises, or stretching sequences create positive associations. This psychological effect reinforces the physiological response, making visceral fat reduction easier and more sustainable. Over time, these approaches build cumulative benefits. The body begins to adjust hormone levels, improve insulin sensitivity, and reduce chronic inflammation. Fat around the organs becomes more accessible for energy use, energy levels increase, digestion improves, and the waistline gradually shrinks. By moving the right way consistently and with attention to hormone balance, visceral fat responds faster than most people expect, and the results last longer than those achieved through short-term extreme exercise programs. Incorporating these principles into daily life creates a rhythm where the body naturally releases visceral fat. Movement becomes a supportive signal rather than a punishment. Short walks, light strength training, interval bursts, posture awareness, breathing, hydration, and nutrition timing all combine to create the ideal environment for fat loss. Over weeks, these small but consistent habits lead to noticeable changes, improved health, and reduced risk for the diseases associated with deep abdominal fat. Now, it is time to put everything into action. Follow these steps for the next 30 days. You do not have to be perfect. You do not have to overhaul your life overnight. The key is consistency. Small daily habits build momentum, and over time your body will respond. Your waist will begin to shrink. Your belly will feel lighter and your overall health will improve. Commit to the plan, track your progress, and stay patient. Change does not happen instantly, but every day you follow these steps brings you closer to a stronger, healthier body. Remember, it is not about extreme measures or quick fixes. It is about creating routines that work with your body, not against it. If this video helped you understand how to tackle visceral fat, give it a like. Subscribe to our channel for more science-based fat loss strategies that actually work. And comment 30 days below if you are ready to start this challenge today. Stay consistent, trust the process, and watch your body transform from the inside out.